We spend so much of our lives listening for an echo. We speak our piece, we make our move, and we wait for the applause, for the recognition, for the validating nod from the world. We are taught that strength is a sound. It's the roar of the crowd, the slam of a gavel, the confident argument that silences a room. But what of the strength that makes no sound at all? I want to speak of a different kind of power. Not the one that shouts, but the one that listens. Not the one that stands to fight, but the one that sits in silence with someone who is suffering. This is your quietest strength, and it is the most formidable thing you possess. It's the courage to be still when everything in you screams to run. It's the resolve to say, I don't know, in a culture that demands certainty. It's the compassion that allows someone else to have the last word, not out of weakness, but out of a profound understanding that some connections are more important than being right. Think of the tree that grows deep, seeking water in the secret, dark places of the earth. Its most vital work is done unseen, in a silence that would be deafening to our ears. That silent, persistent reach is what allows it to stand unshaken when the winds come. Your quietest strength is like that. It is the root system of your soul. It's in the breath you take before you respond in anger. It's in the private tear you shed for a stranger's pain. It's in the gentle no you offer to protect your spirit. It's in the silent, steadfast belief you hold for a dream that no one else can yet see. The world will often mistake this quiet for frailty. It will try to convince you to be louder, sharper, harder. Do not believe it, for the loudest sounds are fleeting. They crack the air and then are gone. But a silence that is chosen, a stillness that is filled with presence, that resonates, it lingers in a room long after the shouting has ended. It changes the chemistry of the space, it heals. We are conditioned to believe that power must be audible. We are taught that influence is measured in decibels, the roar of a crowd, the commanding voice in a boardroom, the sharp retort that wins an argument. This is the strength of the storm, dramatic and undeniable. But what of the strength of the ancient tree that withstands that very storm? Its power is not in noise, but in a deep, silent resilience, anchored in something far below the surface. This is the paradigm shift we must make, to recognize that the most potent and enduring form of strength is often the one that makes no sound at all. This quiet strength is not an absence of power. It is power in its most concentrated, refined, and sustainable form. It is the difference between a firecracker and the steady, enduring heat of the sun. One makes a spectacular bang and is forgotten, the other nurtures life itself. Consider the moments where this silent power truly shines. It is the courage of the parent who sits in the dark with a frightened child, offering not solutions, but simply a presence that whispers, "You are not alone." It is the integrity of the leader who, instead of dictating an answer, has the fortitude to say, "I don't know, but we will find out together," thereby creating a space of collective truth, seeking rather than top-down posturing. It is the artist who spends countless solitary hours with a blank canvas or a silent instrument, wrestling with doubt and vision in a private dialogue that the world may never see, but without which no beauty could ever emerge. These are not passive acts. They are intensely active. They require a will of iron to remain still when every fiber begs for motion, to listen when the ego screams to be heard, to hold space when it would be easier to fill it with our own noise. This quiet is not emptiness. It is a fertile void, rich with potential. In the space between our words, understanding grows. In the stillness of our reactions, wisdom has a chance to catch up with our emotions. When we silence the external and internal chatter, we create a sanctuary for our true voice to emerge, untainted by the expectations and opinions of others. The loudest person in the room is often trying to convince themselves as much as everyone else. The quietest person is often the one who is most certain, because their certainty does not require external validation. They are grounded in a truth that does not need to be announced. This is the strength of the deep root system, drawing nourishment from a source that is unseen. It does not need to proclaim its depth. It is simply evidenced by the sturdiness of the trunk and the vitality of the leaves. In our own lives, this means that our most profound convictions, our most deeply held values, and our most authentic selves are nurtured in these quiet places. By learning to value and cultivate this inner silence, we are not retreating from the world. We are building an unshakable foundation from which to engage with it truly, effectively, and compassionately. Imagine the most majestic tree you have ever seen, an oak that has weathered 100 seasons, a redwood that seems to touch the sky. Its grandeur is visible to all, the thick trunk, the sprawling branches, the canopy that offers shelter. But this visible splendor is entirely dependent on a hidden reality. Beneath the soil, spreading far and wide in the silent, dark earth, is a network of roots. These roots do their most vital work unseen. They do not clamor for attention. They do not react to the changing winds. Their purpose is singular and profound, to seek out water and nourishment, to anchor, to sustain. This hidden system is the tree's quietest strength. And so it is with us, our inner world, that private landscape of thought, reflection, and spirit, is our root system. It is where our most vital work is done, in a silence that would be deafening to the outside world. We live in a culture that celebrates the harvest but neglects the fallow season. We are praised for our visible accomplishments, the promotion, the finished project, the public accolade, while the silent, internal labor that makes those things possible goes unremarked. This is the labor of the roots. It is the courage to sit with a difficult emotion instead of immediately numbing it. It is the discipline of reading, of learning, of thinking deeply about a problem without any immediate reward. It is the patience to practice a skill again and again in private, enduring the frustration of not being good at it yet. It is the willingness to be alone with your own thoughts, to confront your fears and your hopes in the quiet of your own mind. This work is not glamorous. There is no audience. There is no applause. There is only the slow, deliberate, and essential process of reaching deeper into the resources of your own being. This root work is what allows us to stand unshaken when the storms of life arrive. The winds of criticism, the droughts of disappointment, the cold seasons of grief, these are inevitable. A person without a deep root system will be toppled by the first strong gale. Their strength is all on the surface, dependent on constant external validation and fair weather. But a person who has tended their inner life, who has spent time in the quiet, dark places of reflection and self-knowledge, possesses a stability that is unassailable. They can bend, they can sway, but they will not break. Their sense of self is not built on the shifting sands of public opinion, but on the bedrock of their own examined values and cultivated character. The nourishment they draw is not from the fleeting rain of praise, but from the deep, underground springs of purpose and meaning. To neglect this inner root system is to live a life of perpetual fragility. We become like shallow, planted saplings, at the mercy of every passing trend and every critical comment. But to consciously tend to it, to carve out time for silence, for reflection, for the private work of becoming, is to invest in a strength that is both quiet and unyielding. It is the foundation upon which a resilient, purposeful, and truly fruitful life is built. The branches of our public achievements may be what the world sees, but it is the silent, persistent growth of our roots that allows us to truly thrive. The world often presents us with a false dichotomy. Either you are the loud, assertive force that commands the room, or you are passive, submissive, and ultimately ineffective. This is a profound and damaging misconception. The choice is not between shouting and silence. It is between reactive noise and responsive intention. Quiet strength is not the absence of action. It is the presence of a deeper, more considered form of action. It is the conscious, deliberate choice to respond from a place of centered awareness rather than simply reacting from a place of triggered emotion. Every day, we are presented with countless opportunities to choose the reactive clamor or the responsive quiet. And in those moments, our true character is forged. Consider the power inherent in the pause. When met with a provocative comment or a stressful situation, the instinctual, reactive response is to fire back, to defend, to fill the space immediately with sound and fury. This is the predictable, almost mechanical, response of the ego, but the quiet strength lies in the conscious choice to insert a single, potent breath between the stimulus and your response. In that sliver of silence, a transformation occurs. You are no longer a puppet being jerked by someone else's strings. You become the puppeteer of your own actions. You transition from being a reactor to being a responder. This is not passivity. It is the ultimate form of agency. It is the decision to let your values, not your triggers, dictate your behavior. This intentional responsiveness manifests in 1,000 different ways, each one a testament to a powerful inner sovereignty. It is the gentle but unyielding no. You offer to protect your time, your energy, or your principles. A no that requires far more strength than an acquiescent yes, given out of fear or a desire to please. It is the choice to sit with someone in their grief, offering the profound gift of silent, shared space, rather than filling the void with platitudes and empty advice. It is the courage to admit, I was wrong, a statement that reactive pride would never allow, but that responsive humility recognizes as essential for growth and connection. It is the strength to allow another person to have the last word, not because you are defeated, but because you have wisely discerned that the relationship is more important than the argument. Each of these choices is an active, powerful engagement with the world. They are not signs of retreat, but of advanced engagement on a different, more meaningful frequency. The person who can remain calm in the center of a storm is not ignoring the storm. They are harnessing a deeper understanding of it. They are conserving energy, observing patterns, and choosing the most effective point of intervention, rather than flailing wildly at the wind and rain. This is the strength of the deep current, which moves with a power that the choppy, chaotic waves on the surface can never comprehend. By cultivating this capacity for responsive quiet, we build a life not of happenstance, but of design. We become the authors of our own story, writing each sentence with the ink of intention, rather than the frantic scribble of reaction. We are taught from a young age to seek validation, to perform our strengths for an audience, to believe that our worth is reflected in the applause we receive. This conditioning runs so deep that we often mistake the echo for the voice itself. We begin to believe that if a strength is not witnessed, celebrated, and acknowledged, it somehow holds less value, as if a tree falling in an empty forest makes no sound. This is perhaps the most pervasive illusion we must confront on the path to genuine self-possession. The world, with its metrics of likes, promotions, and public praise, consistently misinterprets quiet for frailty, stillness for indecision, and introspection for idleness. It is a system that rewards the visible harvest but has no language for the essential, silent work of the roots. This external pressure creates a constant, low-grade anxiety, a feeling that we are not doing enough unless we are seen to be doing it. We feel compelled to narrate our lives, to package our efforts into digestible updates, to perform our competence and our busyness. In this cacophony of self-promotion, the quiet strength of intrinsic motivation, the simple, profound satisfaction of doing good work for its own sake, becomes a radical act. The person who works diligently in the background, who cultivates patience without posting about it, who offers forgiveness without demanding recognition, is often overlooked by the metrics of a noisy world. Their strength is not on display, it is in reserve, and because it is not performing, it is mistakenly assumed to be absent. But this mislabeling is a critical test of our conviction. The true power of your quiet strength is revealed precisely when it is misunderstood. It is easy to be loud when the world is cheering you on. The real challenge is to remain quietly steadfast when you are being dismissed, when your calm is mistaken for complacency, when your listening is mistaken for a lack of ideas. To hold your center in those moments requires a deep, unshakable faith in your own internal compass. You must know the truth of your own capacity, even when no one else is affirming it. You must trust the process of your private growth, even when there is no public progress report. This is where the quiet becomes a sanctuary and a fortress. When you stop needing the world to correctly name your strength, you become free from its judgment. Your power is no longer contingent on external validation. It becomes self-sustaining. The artist who creates for the joy of creation, regardless of gallery shows or sales, possesses a freedom the crowd pleaser will never know. The leader who empowers their team without needing to take public credit builds a loyalty that is far deeper and more resilient. This is not about rejecting acknowledgement, but about divorcing your sense of self-worth from it. The final and most profound expression of your quietest strength is this: to know with absolute certainty that your worth is inherent and your power is real, even when, especially when, it makes no sound at all. The quiet we speak of is not a void to be feared, but a fertile ground to be cultivated. It is the rich, dark soil of the self, and like any soil, its quality determines what can grow there. When this inner space is neglected, choked with the weeds of constant distraction, paved over with the brittle concrete of busyness, or eroded by the winds of anxiety, it becomes barren. From such depleted ground, only the hardiest, most desperate shoots can emerge. Reactions of fear, spikes of anger, the shallow roots of insecurity. A life lived from this place feels fragile, because it is built on a foundation that has not been tended. To cultivate this quiet, then, is not a passive retreat. It is the most active and essential work of a conscious life. It is the deliberate tilling of your own inner landscape to create the conditions for resilience, wisdom, and authentic connection to flourish. This cultivation is a practice, not a destination. It begins with the seemingly simple, yet profoundly radical, act of creating pockets of intentional silence in a world that is screaming for your attention. It is the conscious decision to spend the first 5 minutes of the day not with a phone, but with your own breath. It is the choice to walk without headphones, allowing your thoughts to settle and find their own rhythm instead of being dictated by an external soundtrack. It is the discipline of sitting through a moment of discomfort without immediately reaching for a device to fill it. In these small, sacred spaces, you are not doing nothing. You are doing the fundamental work of clearing the land, of creating room for your true self to breathe and expand. You are sending a message to your deepest being that its existence is valuable, even when it is not producing, performing, or consuming. From this tended quiet, your most authentic actions will naturally and powerfully spring. This is the critical difference between a reaction and a response. A reaction is a reflex, a spark from a frayed wire, born from an unsettled and cluttered mind. A response, however, is an artful creation. It is the word of comfort that finds you when you have made space to truly listen to a friend's pain. It is the flash of creative insight that arrives not when you are frantically forcing a solution, but when you are in the shower, having given your mind the freedom to wander. It is the patient and compassionate answer you offer a child because you have cultivated the inner stability not to be triggered by their chaos. These are not manufactured, they are harvested from the inner stillness you have so carefully nurtured. Your quietest strength, therefore, is this very capacity to cultivate and protect this inner sanctuary. It is the well you dig in private, so that you may draw from it in public. It is the root system you tend in the dark, so that the tree of your life may stand firm in the storm. When you honor this quiet, you are not withdrawing from the world. You are building a home within yourself, a place of unwavering calm and profound resourcefulness. From this centered place, you engage with life not as a frantic participant, but as a grounded creator. Your actions cease to be desperate grasps for stability and become instead generous expressions of the abundance you have cultivated within. This is the ultimate power of the quiet. It is the source from which everything genuine and enduring must flow.